Hello there, everyone. Welcome to Cryptic Corpse. I am your storyteller, and I'm here to guide you tonight. I know many of you use these videos to drift off to sleep, so before we begin, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. I'm always curious, where are you watching from, and what time is it in your part of the world? Now find your cozy spot and relax. My name is Dr. Elena Vasquez, and I've made a terrible mistake coming here. The rain hasn't stopped since I arrived at Crescent Lake Hospital 3 days ago. The abandoned building sits like a grey ghost against the darker grey of the Olympic. Peninsula forests. Water drips through cracks in the ceiling, making hollow plinks that echo down the empty hallways. I'm a psychiatrist. I study how people forget things that hurt them too much to remember. The mind is good at hiding painful memories, tucking them away in dark corners. My job is to help people find those memories again, to make them whole. That's why I came to this forgotten place. I heard whispers about Project Neem, secret research about memory that happened here in the 1960s, the kind of research nobody talks about anymore. The front door wasn't even locked, just stuck from years of nobody opening it. Inside, everything was covered in dust, like someone just walked away one day and never came back. I set up my little camp in what used to be the main office. My flashlight, my sleeping bag, my notebooks, and enough food for a week. The electricity still works somehow. Some of the lights flicker on when I flip the switches, like the building was just waiting for someone to return. Yesterday, I found the file room, hundreds of folders with patients' names, all neatly organized. The paper felt damp between my fingers as I read about the memory recovery they did here. They claimed they could pull forgotten memories out of people's minds like pulling teeth. Some of the techniques seemed wrong, dangerous. There were tapes too, old reels of film, showing doctors talking to patients. In one, a woman sits in a chair while a doctor asks her questions. She starts calm, then begins to shake. Then she screams about someone called the Hollow Man who steals memories. The tape cuts off suddenly. Last night, I dreamed about that woman. I was standing in her hospital room, watching her sleep. But when she opened her eyes, she looked right at me and said, "You're next, Elena." I woke up sweating, even though the building is freezing cold. This morning, I found something strange, a patient file labeled current subjects. The papers inside were dated 2027, more than 60 years in the future. I thought it was a mistake until I saw the security footage. The old security office has monitors that still work. When I turned them on, they showed me walking into the building. Not just yesterday, but dozens of times. In some recordings, I look older. In others, younger. In one, I'm wearing clothes I've never owned, walking through this same hallway in what the timestamp says is 1986. I don't understand how that's possible. I've never been here before. Just now, I found a file with my name on it. Not Dr. Elena Vasquez, but patient number 47, Elena Vasquez. Inside was a psychiatric evaluation form with notes about my persistent delusions of being a doctor and my failure to accept reality following the incident. The handwriting on the form is mine. As I'm writing this, I smell something sharp and clean, like hospital disinfectant. But there's no cleaning supplies here. Nothing has been cleaned in years. I think I should leave this place. But every time I try to find the exit, the hallways seem to change, and I keep hearing someone following me, footsteps that stop when I stop. I need to find out more about Project Neem, about what they were really doing here. Because I'm starting to think I never really arrived at all. I'm starting to think I never left. I haven't slept in what feels like days. The rain keeps tapping on the windows like tiny fingers wanting to be let in. This morning, I found a room filled with patients' things. Small boxes with labels, each containing personal items, a hairbrush, a wedding ring, an old photo. When I touched a small teddy bear with one eye missing, something strange happened. I was suddenly in a bright yellow kitchen. A little girl was crying at the table while her mom made pancakes, trying to cheer her up. The pancakes had chocolate chip smiles that melted into sad, droopy faces. I could smell the butter, feel the hard wooden chair. Then it was gone, and I was back in the dusty room, holding the bear. These weren't my memories, they belonged to someone else. I tried another box. Inside was a silver pocket watch. When my fingers closed around it, I was standing on a fishing boat. Salt spray hit my face as an old man showed a young boy how to tie a special knot. The boy's hands were small and smooth. Mine are neither. I can somehow see other people's memories by touching their things. But then I found a box labeled EV Personal Effects, my initials. Inside was my mother's necklace, the one she gave me on my 16th birthday, the one I'm wearing right now, except I'm not. My hand went to my throat, but the chain wasn't there. When I touched the necklace in the box, memories flooded in. But they were mine, me as a teenager, me in college, me on my first day working at Boston General Hospital. But then, memories I don't remember living. Me screaming in this very building, me strapped to a bed while doctors leaned over me, me staring at a wall for hours, trying to remember my own name. I dropped the necklace like it burned me. Running back to the security room, I watched more tapes. There I was in a hospital gown, sitting across from a doctor. The timestamp said 1965. "Tell me again about your work, Elena," the doctor said. "I'm a psychiatrist," I heard myself say. "I specialize in memory recovery." The doctor sighed. "Elena, we've been over this. You've never been a doctor. This is a delusion you've created." The me on the screen got angry. "I am Dr. Elena Vasquez. I have a practice in Seattle. I came here to research Project Neem." Then the doctor held up a mirror. But the face in the reflection wasn't mine. It was someone else's face, though the me on the screen seemed to recognize it as her own. I turned off the tape, my hands shaking. In the file room, I found more records with my name. Patient reports spanning decades. Some of the handwriting is mine, some isn't. The dates make no sense. How could I have been here in the 1960s when I was born in 1978? I found driver's licenses in a drawer, 5 different IDs with my photo but different names, different birth dates. One says I was born in 1942. The hallways seem longer now. Sometimes I turn a corner and find myself back where I started. I've tried to leave the building 3 times, but each time I somehow end up in the basement instead. The basement where they kept the special patients. I found the treatment room down there, old machines with dials and gauges, a chair with leather straps, and a helmet-like device with wires coming out of it. A sign on the wall reads, "Memory, Extraction Protocol." As I stood there, the machines hummed to life. The lights flickered. On an old TV screen in the corner, a video played. It was me, screaming as they put the helmet on my head. But the date on the video said tomorrow. I'm writing this in what I think is a patient's room. My patient's room? I've pushed a heavy cabinet against the door. I don't think it will keep him out, though, because I've seen him now, in the mirrors, in the dark corners, the hollow man. He doesn't have a face, just a blur where features should be, and he's hungry. I think I know what he eats. I think I know why I can't remember coming here. I think I know why I have memories that aren't mine. I just don't know how many times this has happened before. I've been hiding in this room for hours or days. Time doesn't work right anymore. The small window shows daylight, then darkness, then daylight again. But I don't feel like any nights have passed. I need to write down what I know before I forget again. The Hollow Man is real. He's not just a story the patient's told. He moves through the walls of this place, looking for people who remember too much or too little. I see him from the corner of my eye, but when I turn to look, he's gone. I found more files, hidden ones, stuffed behind a loose wall panel. They explain everything about him. The Hollow Man isn't a person. He's something else, something that needs human memories to exist. Like we need food and water, he needs the things we remember. The worst part? According to the files, I've known this for 15 years. Because I've been dead for 15 years. There was a newspaper clipping in the files, my obituary. It said Dr. Elena Vasquez died in a car accident in 2002. There was a photo of the funeral. My parents crying. My sister holding my picture, but that can't be right. I'm here. I'm alive. I'm breathing and thinking and writing these words. Unless I'm not. I found recordings of myself explaining it all. My voice, my face, but not my memories. The entity we call the Hollow Man exists in the spaces between human consciousness, I heard myself say on the tape. It feeds on identity, on the core of what makes us who we are. Crescent Lake was built as a feeding ground. The memory research was just a cover. In another tape, I'm older, my hair gray at the temples. I've been here since my death in 2002, my older self explained calmly. The Hollow Man keeps me here, cycling through variations of my life. Sometimes I'm the doctor, sometimes the patient, sometimes the researcher. He feeds on the confusion, on the moment when I realize none of it was real. I don't understand how I can exist in so many different ways at once. This morning, if it was morning, I looked in the bathroom mirror and saw someone else's face, staring back at me. An old woman, with my eyes but not my face. When I touched the glass, her lips moved with mine. "We're all here," she said with my voice. "All of us. He's taken." I ran from the bathroom and found more patient records, hundreds of them, each describing the same symptoms. But the strangest thing was at the bottom of each file. Each patient remembered the same childhood fear, being lost in a grocery store, calling for their mother but a stranger answering instead. That happened to me when I was 6. I've never told anyone. How could all these people share my exact memory unless they're not sharing mine? I'm sharing theirs. I found an old tape recorder and played the most recent tape. It was me speaking yesterday, though I have no memory of recording it. This is Dr. Elena Vasquez, attempt number 847 to document the feeding cycle. The Hollow Man has constructed this facility as a harvesting ground for human identity. The patients aren't brought here for treatment, they're brought here for consumption. I've discovered that I am simultaneously the doctor studying the phenomenon, the patient experiencing it, and the bait used to lure new victims. There is no escape because there is nowhere to escape to. This building exists in a pocket between realities. If you're hearing this, you are also me. Another version, another cycle. By the time you find this tape, he'll have already begun feeding on your sense of self. Look at your hands. I looked down at my hands as the tape instructed. They weren't my hands. The fingers were longer, the skin paler. A small scar on the thumb I've never had. I dropped the recorder and it shattered on the floor. When I picked up the pieces, I saw my reflection in a broken shard. It wasn't my face anymore. It was someone else's face. Then another. Then another. Dozens of faces flashing by like cards being shuffled. All the people he's taken, all the people I've been. I ran through the hallways looking for a way out, but the building kept changing around me. Doors that led to walls, stairways that went in circles. I ended up in a large room I hadn't seen before. The walls were covered with photographs, hundreds of them, each showing a different person. But each photo had the same eyes, my eyes. In the center of the room was a desk with a journal. The handwriting changed every few pages, from neat to messy to block letters to cursive. The last entry read, "I finally understand. I'm not just a doctor who came to study Project Neem. I'm not just a patient trapped in delusions. I'm the project itself. I'm what's left when the Hollow Man finishes feeding. I'm the shell that remains, filled with borrowed memories waiting to be consumed again." The Hollow Man doesn't just take memories, he takes the person, then he wears them like a suit until there's nothing left but scraps. And I think he's wearing me right now. As I read those words, I felt something cold behind me, a presence without substance. I turned around slowly, and there he was, the Hollow Man, standing in the doorway, his non-face turned toward me. Where features should be, there was only a swirling darkness, like fog over water. But I could feel him smiling. I don't know how I escaped the room with the Hollow Man. One moment he was there reaching for me with hands that looked like smoke, and the next I was running down a hallway I'd never seen before. I ended up in a large room deep in the basement. The walls were lined with filing cabinets, and in the center stood a strange machine. It looked like a dentist's chair surrounded by old computers and screens. Wires hung from the ceiling, connecting to a helmet-like device above the chair. This was the heart of Project Neem. I found a thick binder labeled Harvesting Protocol and began to read. What I learned made my blood freeze. Project Neem was never about helping people recover lost memories. It was about taking them. The government didn't start the project. The doctors didn't either. The Hollow Man did. He made them build this place, this machine, this feeding ground. The binder explained how it worked. The helmet would scan a person's brain, pulling out memories one by one. Not just any memories, the ones that made you who you are. Your first kiss, the day your dog died, the time you got lost at the store and couldn't find your mum. These memories would be stored on the computers. Then the Hollow Man would feed on them, absorbing what made each person unique and special. But why? The binder had an answer for that too. The Hollow Man isn't from our world. He's from somewhere else, somewhere between places. A crack in reality where nothing exists except hunger. He can't make his own memories, so he takes ours. Each memory he consumes makes him more real in our world. And he's been doing this for centuries. Not just here at Crescent Lake, everywhere. Every time someone went to therapy and talked about their past. Every time a doctor helped someone remember a forgotten trauma. The Hollow Man was there, listening, feeding. I thought about all the patients I'd helped in my career as a psychiatrist. Had I been feeding him all along? Then I remembered. I was never really a psychiatrist. That was just another stolen memory, another false life. As I was reading, one of the old computers hummed to life. A video appeared on the screen. It was me, sitting in the same chair I was looking at now. "Hello, Eleanor," the me on the screen said. "If you're watching this, you've reached the harvesting stage again. I've left this message for myself so many times, but I never remember. So listen carefully. You were brought to Crescent Lake in 1967 as a test subject. You were the first person to survive a complete memory extraction. Instead of dying, something strange happened. You became a vessel, a perfect storage container for memories. The Hollow Man has been using you ever since. He places you in cycles, sometimes as the doctor, sometimes as the patient, and watches you discover the truth over and over. Each time you realize who you really are, he feeds on that moment of horror. But I found a way to fight back, a way to poison his food." The me on the screen leaned forward, whispering now. "You need to go through the process again. Sit in the chair, put on the helmet. But this time, focus on one specific memory while the machine works. Not your memory, his memory. The memory of how he came to our world. It's inside you, buried, under all the false lives you've lived. If you can bring that memory to the surface during extraction, it will corrupt his feeding. It might even destroy him. But be careful, he's watching, he always is." The video cut off. I stared at the chair, at the helmet hanging above it like a spider waiting to drop on its prey. Could I trust the message? It was me talking, but which? Me, the doctor, the patient, the bait. Before I could decide, my phone rang. I don't know how that's possible. There's no signal in this place, and my phone battery died days ago. But it rang, and I answered. "Don't do it, Elena," said a voice that was mine, but wasn't. "It's a trap. I'm you from tomorrow. If you sit in that chair, you'll become me. And trust me, you don't want that." As she spoke, I heard screaming in the background of her call. "What's happening there?" I asked. "He's feeding," my future self said, "on everyone. The Hollow Man is breaking free of Crescent Lake. If you sit in that chair, you'll give him the last memory he needs." The call ended. I didn't know what to believe anymore. The room seemed to shift around me, the walls breathing in and out like lungs. Then I saw him again. The Hollow Man, standing in the doorway. But this time, his non-face had a feature. A mouth. A wide, grinning mouth full of darkness. "Elena," he said, his voice like paper tearing. "It's time to remember." He stepped toward me, each movement jerky and wrong, like he was learning how to use a human body. "You've been such a good host," he said. "So many times, so many cycles, but this is the last one." "What do you mean?" I asked, backing away until I hit the chair. "The world is ready now," he said. "Ready for us." "Us?" His mouth stretched wider. "We've been using doctors for centuries, therapists, counselors, anyone who helps people remember. Each session, each treatment, each breakthrough, a little piece of humanity fed to us." "We? Did you think I was the only one?" The Hollow Man laughed, and the sound made the air vibrate. "There are thousands of us, millions, one for every forgotten thing. And you, Elena, you're the key that unlocks the door." He reached for me with hands that weren't hands anymore, but long, stretching shadows. All we needed was the right vessel. Someone who could hold enough memories without breaking. And here you are, just like you've always been. I looked at the chair behind me, at the helmet waiting to strip away what little of me remained. Then I looked at the Hollow Man, at the darkness where his eyes should be. And I made my choice. I sat in the chair. I don't know if it was bravery or surrender that made me do it. Maybe I just wanted this to end, one way or another. The Hollow Man watched as I strapped myself in, his empty face tilted like a curious dog. "You surprise me, Elena," he said. "After all these cycles, you still hope." "I'm not doing this for hope," I told him as I reached for the helmet. "I'm doing it for answers." The helmet was heavier than it looked. Cold metal pressed against my skull as I lowered it onto my head. Tiny needles pricked my scalp, making me wince. "Shall I tell you a secret before we begin?" the Hollow Man asked, his voice now coming from inside my head. "This story you think you're living, you're writing it, right now, as part of your treatment." "What do you mean?" I asked, though part of me already knew. "Look around you. Elena, really look." I opened my eyes wider. The room flickered like a bad TV signal. For a moment, I saw something else. A small office with modern computers. A desk with a notebook open to a page titled "The Memory Thief's Archive." My handwriting covered the pages. "You're creating me," the Hollow Man whispered. "With every word you write, I become more real." "No," I said, "you're lying." "Am I? Think about it. A creature that feeds on memories. A hospital where reality bends. It's a story, Elena, your story." The room shifted again, and I saw a therapist sitting across from me, nodding as I spoke. "You've been working on this story for months," the therapist said. "It's part of your recovery, a way to process your trauma by turning it into fiction." Then the vision was gone, and I was back in the chair under the helmet, with the Hollow Man watching me. "Which is real?" I asked. "This place, or that office? Both? Neither? Does it matter?" His voice was gentle now, almost kind. "The story is the feeding ground, Elena, The words are the bait, and everyone who reads them becomes part of the harvest. A chill ran through me. What do you mean, everyone who reads them? Did you think you were the only one in this loop? Every person who reads your story follows your path. They become you. They feel what you feel. They fear what you fear. And when they reach the end... He made a slurping sound that turned my stomach. Their memories are so much sweeter when they believe they're just reading a story. The machine hummed to life around me. Lights flashed on screens I couldn't see from the chair. The helmet grew warmer, vibrating against my skull. "You've done this 847 times before," the Hollow Man said. "Each time you think you found a way to stop me. Each time you fail." "And what happens after I fail?" I asked. "You become me for a little while. You wear my non-face. You feed on others until there's nothing left of you but hunger and..." We start again. Images flash through my mind. Me standing in hospital rooms, watching patients sleep. Me whispering in therapists' ears as they help people remember traumatic events. Me feeding. "No," I said, "I won't become you. You already have. Many times." The machine's hum grew louder. The pain started, like ice picks behind my eyes. "But this cycle is special," the Hollow Man continued. "This time your story reaches beyond Crescent Lake, beyond you and me." "What do you mean?" I gasped through the pain. "The world is ready now, for all of us. The barriers are thin, the hunger is great, and your story is the key that unlocks the door." I screamed as the memories began to flow out of me. I could feel them being pulled away like teeth from gums. My childhood, my college years, my first love, my worst fears. But as they flowed out, something else flowed in. The memory, his memory. The one my past self had told me to focus on. I saw it. Clearly now, a crack between worlds. A place of hunger looking into a place of plenty. The first time a human memory was stolen. The first time the Hollow Man tasted what it was like to be real. I held onto that memory as everything else washed away. I pushed it to the front of my mind, forcing the machine to extract it first. The Hollow Man screamed. The sound was like glass breaking inside my skull. "What are you doing?" he shrieked. "Poisoning the well," I said through gritted teeth. The memory of his beginning flowed into the machine. The screens around the room cracked. The lights flickered wildly. "Stop!" he howled, his form twisting and stretching. "You don't know what you're doing." "I know exactly what I'm doing," I said. "I'm ending the story." The Hollow Man lunged for me, but his hands passed through my body like smoke. He was fading, becoming less real with each second. "Oh, if I go, you go too," he hissed. "You're nothing without me, just empty pages. Better empty than filled with you," I told him. The pain was unbearable now. I felt myself coming apart, memories flying away like birds from a cage. But I held onto one thing, the knowledge that this had to end. The Hollow Man screamed one last time, and then silence. I opened my eyes. I was sitting at a desk. A notebook lay open before me, the last page filled with my handwriting. The final words read, "The story ends here." A therapist sat across from me, smiling gently. "Congratulations, Elena," she said. "You've completed the narrative therapy exercise. How do you feel?" I looked down at the notebook, at the story I'd apparently written. The Memory Thief's archive. "I feel..." I paused, searching for the right word. "Empty." "That's normal," she assured me. "You've purged a lot of trauma through this process. The emptiness will fill with new, healthier experiences." I nodded, but something felt wrong. The office seemed too bright, too clean. The therapist's smile never reached her eyes. As I gathered my things to leave, I caught a glimpse of something in the window reflection. A figure standing behind me, faceless, watching. I whipped around, but no one was there. "Is everything okay?" the therapist asked. "Yes," I said automatically. "Just thought I saw something." She nodded, still smiling that empty smile. Same time next week, we can discuss how to share your story with others. It could help a lot of people process their own trauma. Share it? A cold feeling spread through my chest. You want me to publish this? Of course, that's been our goal all along, to create a story that resonates, that pulls readers in, that makes them feel like they're experiencing it themselves. Her eyes flickered just for a moment. In that instant, they were not eyes at all, but empty spaces, hungry spaces. No, I said, grabbing the notebook. I don't think anyone should read this. Her smile disappeared. Elena, we've discussed this. Sharing is part of healing. I'm not sharing this story, I said, backing toward the door. It's done. It's over. As I turned to leave, she called after me. It's never over, Elena. The story continues beyond its ending. I ran from the building, clutching the notebook to my chest. Outside, the world looked normal. Cars, people, sunlight. But something was different. The colors seemed too bright. Sounds echoed strangely, and everywhere I looked I saw them. The faceless ones, standing on street corners, looking out from shop windows, watching from passing cars. No one else seemed to notice them. I made it home and locked all the doors. Sitting at my kitchen table, I opened the notebook to the last page. Below my final sentence, new words had appeared in handwriting that wasn't mine. The story never ends. It just finds new readers. I should burn this notebook. I should destroy every page. But I can't, because I'm not writing this anymore. You are. As you read these words, can you feel it? That emptiness behind your eyes, that hunger that isn't yours. Do you feel him standing behind you right now? Don't look. He doesn't like to be seen until he's ready, until you're ready. Turn the page, and the story continues. Close the book, and he follows you home. Either way, the feeding has already begun. Welcome to the archive. My name is Marcus Webb. I'm 35 years old, and I study how sound works in different places. I came to Mammoth Cave in Kentucky because something strange is happening with the sounds down here. 3 days ago, I packed up my special microphones, recorders, and other equipment. The cave research team was excited about my visit. They'd been hearing weird noises deep in the cave system, sounds that shouldn't be possible according to what we know about how sound travels. You'll need to go deeper than most visitors, Dr. Renfield told me as we checked my gear. The sounds only appear past the 5th chamber, in areas tourists never see. I nodded, trying to hide my excitement. This was why I became an acoustic engineer in the first place, to find the unexplainable and make sense of it. The first day was normal. I set up recording stations at different depths, taking baseline readings. Mammoth Cave is massive, the longest known cave system in the world. Its tunnels stretch for over 400 miles, and those are just the ones we've mapped. Who knows what exists in the uncharted darkness? On the second day, things got weird. I was in a chamber about 300 feet below the surface, a place the guides call the cathedral because of how sound echoes there. I clapped my hands, recording the echo pattern. When I played back the recording, something impossible happened. The echo came back before my clap. I checked my equipment, thinking it must be malfunctioning. I recorded again. The same thing happened. The echo arrived before. The sound that caused it. That's not possible, I whispered to myself. My whisper echoed back, but it is possible, Marcus. I froze. I hadn't said my name. I decided to go deeper. In a narrow passage called the throat, I set up my most sensitive microphones. As I worked, I noticed something odd about the walls. They seemed to pulse slightly, almost like they were breathing. Just my headlamp playing tricks, I told myself. I recorded ambient noise for an hour, then headed back to my base camp to analyze the data. What I found made no sense. The sound. Waves formed patterns that shouldn't exist in nature, perfect geometric shapes that pulsed with mathematical precision, and buried within the recording was a voice. My voice. "Help me," it said. "I'm still here." But I never said those words. I couldn't sleep that night. The patterns in the sound waves kept appearing when I closed my eyes, like they had burned themselves into my vision. They made my eyes hurt and my head throb. Somehow, looking at the sound made me hear it too. A low hum that seemed to come from inside my own head. This morning I went to the deepest mapped section of the cave, a place called the Abyss. It's a vertical shaft that drops about 200 feet into darkness. No one knows exactly how deep it really goes. I lowered my equipment down, then carefully climbed down after it. At the bottom, I found something that shouldn't be there. Another research team's equipment. It was dusty, looked like it had been there for months. But the strange thing was, the machines were still running, still recording. I checked the data storage. It was nearly full. Whatever these machines had been recording, they'd been doing it for a very long time. I connected my laptop and downloaded their data. As I scrolled through their sound files, my blood ran cold. They had recorded thousands of hours of what sounded like conversations, but the voices were all mine, conversations I hadn't had yet. Then I noticed something else about the machines. They weren't just covered in dust. They were covered in a fine white powder, bone dust. I shined my light around the chamber and saw them for the first time. 3 skeletons huddled in a corner. The previous research team. They'd been down here all along, dead. But their equipment kept recording my voice. Before I ever entered the cave. I should leave. I need to leave right now. But something's happening to the cave around me. The walls aren't just breathing anymore. They're vibrating with sound. Sound that's forming words. "Welcome home, Marcus," the cave says in my own voice. "We've been waiting for you." My equipment is picking up sound patterns that don't make sense. They're changing as I watch them, forming new shapes, new patterns that hurt my eyes when I look at them. And somehow, I can hear them too, even though that should be impossible. I need to get out of here. But first, I need to understand what's happening. The equipment from the dead research team is still recording. But now it's recording things I'm about to say, seconds before I say them. Time isn't working right down here, and I'm starting to think the cave is listening to my thoughts. I've been in the cave for what my watch says is 5 hours, but it feels much longer. The deeper I go, the more I feel like time isn't working right down here. I should head back to the surface and tell someone about the dead research team. But something keeps me here. It's like the sounds are pulling me deeper. I decided to listen to more of the recordings from the dead team's equipment. What I heard made my skin crawl. They recorded sounds that changed over time, getting more and more complex. In their last recordings, the sounds had a pattern that made my head hurt when I listened to them. Subject shows altered brain activity when exposed to frequency pattern 7B, a woman's voice said on one recording. The cave seems to be changing us. I hooked up my brainwave monitor to myself, a small device we use to measure how sounds affect people. What I saw scared me. When I listened to certain sounds in the cave, my brain patterns changed completely. It was like the sounds were rewriting how my brain works. "That's not possible," I whispered. The cave whispered back, using my voice, but not my words. "Everything is possible in here, Marcus. Sound is just the beginning." I backed away from my equipment, heart pounding. The walls around me seemed to pulse with my heartbeat, like the cave was alive and could feel what I was feeling. I took a deep breath and tried to think clearly. I'm a scientist. There must be a logical explanation. I looked more closely at the cave walls. In the beam of my headlamp, I could see tiny movements, like the gentle rise and fall of someone breathing while they sleep. I placed my hand against the wall. It was warm. Cave walls shouldn't be warm. A crazy thought hit me. What if this isn't just a cave? What if it's something else, something alive? I checked the dead team's notes again. They had been measuring the cave's breathing pattern. The rhythm matched human sleep cycles perfectly, like the cave was a giant sleeping creature, and we were inside it. As if responding to my thoughts, a low rumble moved through the chamber. Not an earthquake, more like a giant stomach growling. I played back some of my recordings and noticed something I'd missed before. Behind all the strange sounds was a pattern that reminded me of a heartbeat, slow and steady, but much bigger than any human heart. Then I heard voices in the recording, whispers that weren't there when I made the recording. I turned up the volume. "Help us. We can't get out. It won't let us leave. We're still here." Hundreds of voices, all talking at once. Some sounded old, like from long ago. Others sounded more recent, all of them trapped. My hands shook as I checked another recording. This time I heard my own voice among them, saying things I hadn't said yet. "I understand now," my voice said. "I died 3 days ago, but I'm still here." Cold fear washed over me. What did that mean? I'm not dead. I'm right here, listening to these recordings. But something tugged at my memory. When did I enter the cave? I remembered packing my equipment. I remembered meeting Dr. Renfield, but I couldn't remember actually entering the cave. How did I get down here? I tried calling out to the surface team on my radio, but all I got was static, and underneath the static, more whispers. My equipment started picking up new sounds. When I looked at the sound waves on my computer screen, they formed impossible patterns, like something from another world. The patterns seemed to move and shift, almost like they were alive. And the strangest thing, I could understand them, not with my ears, but with my mind. The sound patterns were like a language, speaking directly to my thoughts. They told me that sound exists in more dimensions than our world allows, that what we call sound is just a tiny piece of something much bigger. I found myself talking back to the patterns, not with my voice, but with my thoughts. And the cave answered. "You're catching on quickly, Marcus," it seemed to say. "Quicker than the others." The others. The dead research team, or something else. I played back one of my recordings and got the biggest shock yet. I heard my voice harmonizing with itself, like there were several versions of me talking at once, from different times or different places. "We're all here," the voices said together. "All the versions of you, from every time you've been here before." A chill ran through me. How many times had I been here? Was I trapped in some kind of loop? I needed answers. I decided to go even deeper into the cave, toward a sound that had been calling to me since I arrived. A perfect tone that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. As I moved toward it, I realized something terrible. I recognized this path. I'd been here before, even though I had no memory of it. And I was heading straight toward the place where I died. The path ahead looked familiar, though I was sure I'd never been this deep before. My headlamp cut through the darkness, showing me a narrow tunnel that sloped downward. Water dripped somewhere, each drop echoing strangely. I followed the perfect tone that seemed to be calling me. It grew louder as I went deeper, pulling me forward like it had its own. Gravity. The tunnel opened into a large chamber with a high ceiling. My light couldn't reach all the way to the top, but what I saw on the ground made me stop in my tracks. There was a body lying there, a man in clothes just like mine, with equipment just like mine scattered around him. His face was turned away, but I knew who it was before I even got close. It was me. My legs shook as I approached. My body was partly covered by fallen rocks, a cave-in. The back of the head was crushed. I must have died instantly. "This isn't possible," I whispered. My voice echoed back from all directions. "But it is possible, Marcus. You died here 3 days ago." I backed away from my own body, my mind racing. If I died, then what am I now? A ghost? A hallucination? Neither. The cave seemed to answer my thoughts. "You are an echo. An echo. a sound that repeats after the original is gone. I looked at my hands. They seemed solid enough. I could feel the cold air of the cave, hear my heart pounding in my ears. "This doesn't make sense," I said. "I feel real." The perfect tone I'd been following suddenly changed, splitting into many tones that surrounded me. They formed a voice, not mine, not anyone's I recognized. It seemed to be made of countless voices speaking together. "You are real, Marcus Webb, but not in the way you think. What you call you is just an echo of the person who died here, an echo kept alive by the resonance." "The resonance?" I asked. "Us," the voice answered. "We are the resonance. We exist. In sound, we feed on echoes, the lingering vibrations of consciousness after death." A chill ran through me. "You're eating me?" "No, preserving you, keeping your echo from fading away, like we've done for everyone who has died down here." And suddenly, I could hear them all, hundreds, maybe thousands of voices, people who had died in these caves over centuries, explorers, researchers, lost, tourists. Some voices were so old they weren't even speaking English, but somehow I understood them. All echoes like me, all kept alive by this thing called the resonance. I looked again at my own dead body. A memory flashed in my mind, the roof collapsing, the shock of pain, then darkness. I remembered dying. How can I remember that? I asked. "Because you've been through this moment many times, Marcus. You keep reliving your last days, finding your body, learning what you are." "How many times?" "Hundreds. But each time you forget. Each time you start again at the beginning of your loop." I felt sick. Had I been trapped down here for months? Years? Reliving the same 3 days over and over? "Why?" I asked. "Why keep me in this loop?" The voice of the resonance changed, becoming gentler. "Because your echo is special, Marcus. Your understanding of sound, your trained ear, it makes your echo stronger than most. We need you." "For what?" "To help us break through." The voice led me to a side chamber where the walls were covered in strange markings. They looked like sound waves frozen in stone. "These are doorways," the resonance explained. "Sound exists in more dimensions than your science understands. With the right frequencies, we can open paths to other places. Other places like other parts of the cave, like other worlds, other realities that exist alongside yours." As if to demonstrate, the air in front of me seemed to ripple. For a brief moment, I saw through to somewhere else. A cave like this one, but different. Larger, older, with strange lights floating in the air. Then it was gone. "We've been trapped here too long," the resonance said. "Trapped in this space between worlds. We need to move on. And you need me to help you." "Do that?" I said, beginning to understand. "Because I know sound." "Yes, your knowledge, combined with our power, could open the way permanently." I looked back at my dead body, feeling a deep sadness. But I'm dead. I'm just an echo. Death is not what you think it is, Marcus. It's just a transition from one state to another. You're experiencing your death from multiple angles at once, past, present, future, all happening simultaneously. And I could feel it, the strange stretching of time. Part of me was still alive, just entering the cave. Part of me was dying under falling rocks. Part of me was discovering my own body, all happening at once, in an endless loop. "Can I ever escape this loop?" I asked. "There are 2 paths before you," the resonance answered. "Remain as you are, an echo caught in an endless repeat of your final days. Or what? Become something more. Join with us. Become part of the resonance itself." The perfect tone returned, surrounding me, filling me. I could feel it resonating with something, deep inside me, calling to me. What would happen to me, I asked. You would no longer be just Marcus Webb. You would be part of something greater. You would exist as pure sound, no longer bound by matter or time. As if to show me, the air rippled again. This time I saw not just one other world, but many, countless caves, countless versions of Earth, and places that weren't Earth at all connected by sound. "The choice is yours," the resonance said. "But know this, we cannot maintain your echo forever. Eventually, you will fade. All echoes do." I looked once more at my dead body, then at my hands, still solid-looking, but for how long? I had to decide. Fade away eventually, caught in this loop, or become something else entirely. And all around me, the cave waited for my answer, breathing slowly like a sleeping giant. I stood there for what felt like hours, staring at my own dead body and thinking about what the resonance had told me. I was an echo, a sound that keeps repeating after the original is gone. And I had a choice to make. "Show me," I finally said. "Show me what you really are." The air around me began to vibrate. The perfect tone that had been following me split into hundreds of different sounds, all playing together in a strange harmony. The sounds formed shapes in the air, circles, triangles, patterns that seemed to move and breathe. "We are living sound," the resonance explained. "We existed before your world took shape. We travel through the empty spaces, caves, tunnels, any place where sound can echo and grow." As it spoke, the cave around me changed. The walls became transparent, like looking through glass. Beyond them, I could see other caves, other tunnels, stretching out in all directions. "All underground spaces are connected through sound," the resonance said. "What happens in one place can be heard in another, if you know how to listen." I watched in amazement as sound waves traveled through the walls, connecting different caves, across what must have been vast distances. "Why do you need me?" I asked. "Why my echo?" "Your research," the resonance answered. "Your experiments with sound have already weakened the barriers between dimensions. You've been helping us without knowing it." A cold feeling spread through me. My work, my life's work, had been opening doors that maybe should have stayed closed. "Is that why the other research team died?" I asked, looking at my own body again. "Did they find out what was happening?" "They tried to stop it," the resonance said. "They tried to close the pathways, but once opened, such doors are not easily shut." The sound shapes in the air changed, forming images like a movie playing all around me. I saw the previous team, setting up equipment, recording the strange sounds. Then I saw them panicking, trying to destroy their own machines. And finally, I saw the cave-in that killed them, that killed me too when I came to investigate. "It wasn't an accident," I said, understanding now. "You caused the cave-in." "We protect ourselves," the resonance said simply, "as all living things do." Fear crept up my spine. I was talking to something powerful and dangerous, something that had already killed me once. "What exactly do you want me to do?" I asked carefully. "Join us. Add your voice to our chorus. With your knowledge of acoustics, we can finally open the master doorway, the one that will free us from this limited space." The sound shapes changed again, showing me a massive chamber deep below where I stood. In it was a formation of rocks, shaped like a giant tuning fork. It seemed to vibrate slightly, even though nothing was touching it. "The echo chamber," the resonance said. "The place where all sounds meet. Help us activate it." "And if I do, what happens then?" "We ascend. We move beyond physical space, becoming pure sound energy. And you come with us." "What about everyone else?" I asked. "What happens to the world if these doorways between dimensions open permanently?" The resonance was silent for a moment. Then, change, evolution. "Your world will hear us, all will hear us." Something in the way it said this made me uneasy. "Will people be hurt?" Again, that pause. "Some minds cannot handle new realities. Some will break. But those who survive will be transformed." So there it was. If I helped the resonance, people would die. Maybe a lot of people. their minds broken by whatever came through these doorways. "I can't do that," I said. "I won't help you hurt people." The sound shapes around me turned jagged, harsh. The harmony became a discord that hurt my ears. "Then you will fade," the resonance said. Its voice colder now. "All echoes fade eventually, even yours." As if to prove its point, I noticed my hands looked slightly transparent. I could see the cave floor through them. "How long do I have?" I asked. "Days, perhaps less. Time works differently for echoes." I thought about it. Fade away into nothing, or help this thing that would hurt people. Neither choice seemed good. "There must be another way," I said, "some compromise." The resonance was silent, considering. Then the sound shapes changed again, becoming softer, more rhythmic. "There is a third path," it said finally. "You could become our voice." "Your voice? What does that mean?" "Not all humans react badly to our presence. Some can hear us without breaking. You could be our messenger. Prepare. You're kind for our coming, so I'd still be helping you get out." "Yes, but slowly, carefully, with time for humans to adapt." I wasn't sure if I believed it, but my hands were growing more transparent by the minute. I was running out of time to decide. "How would it work?" I asked. "How do I become your voice?" "Come to the echo chamber. Let your echo merge with us, but not completely. You would remain yourself, but also be part of us. You would live as both Marcus Webb and as the voice of the resonance." It sounded dangerous, and I still wasn't sure. I could trust this thing, but what choice did I have? "Show me this echo chamber," I said. The ground beneath me began to shake. A crack opened up, revealing a steep path downward. The perfect tone returned, stronger than ever, pulling me toward the opening. "This way," the resonance said, "to your new beginning." I took one last look at my dead body, a strange goodbye to myself. Then I stepped onto the path and began descending. The tunnel went down and down, deeper than I thought possible. The walls here were different, smooth and polished like glass, and they glowed with a faint blue light. After what seemed like hours of walking, the tunnel opened into an enormous chamber. It was so big that my light couldn't reach the other side. The ceiling soared up into darkness, and in the center stood the formation I'd seen in the vision. A giant stone arch shaped like a tuning fork, at least 50 feet high. It hummed with power. I could feel the vibrations in my chest, in my bones, or what felt like bones in this echo body of mine. "The echo chamber," the resonance said, its voice coming from everywhere at once. "The nexus of all sound." As I approached the giant tuning fork, I saw that the rock was covered in markings similar to the ones I'd seen earlier. Sound waves frozen in stone. They seemed to move when I looked at them, like they were alive. "What do I do?" I asked. "Stand beneath the arch. Let your voice join with ours." I walked slowly toward the tuning fork. With each step, the humming grew louder. The air around me vibrated with thousands of voices, all the echoes the resonance had collected over time. All the people who had died in caves around the world. I stopped directly under the arch and looked up. The blue glow was brightest here, pulsing like a heartbeat. "Now what?" I asked. "Now," said the resonance, "you sing." "Sing?" "I'm not a singer," I said, looking up at the massive stone arch above me. "Everyone can sing," the resonance replied. "Just open your mouth and let the sound come out." I took a deep breath, or what felt like a breath in this echo body of mine. What should I sing? A song? A note? Before I could decide, the perfect tone returned, filling the chamber. It seemed to come from inside me now, vibrating in my chest. Without thinking, I opened my mouth and let it out. The note that came from me wasn't my voice, not exactly. It was deeper, richer, like many voices singing as one. It rose up and hit the stone arch, making it glow brighter. The markings on the rock began to pulse with light. As I sang, something strange happened. My memories started playing in my mind like a movie. My childhood, my school years, my first sound experiments. But mixed in were other memories that weren't mine. People I'd never met, places I'd never been. The memories of all the other echoes. The blue light from the arch grew stronger, wrapping around me like water. I could feel myself changing. My body, which had been growing transparent, became solid again, but different. When I looked at my hands, they shimmered with the same blue light as the arch. The singing continued, though I wasn't controlling it anymore. The sound was using me now, flowing through me like I was just another instrument. Then suddenly it stopped. The blue light faded. The giant tuning fork stood silent. "Is it done?" I asked. My voice sounded different, deeper, with a slight echo to it even when I spoke normally. "It is begun," the resonance answered. "You are now our voice." I looked down at myself. I looked solid again, but there was a faint blue glow just under my skin. I felt different, stronger, more aware of the sounds around me. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now you return to the world above. You will appear as Marcus Webb to others. They will not know you died. But I am dead. My body is still back, there in that chamber. That is just the shell you left behind. You exist now as both sound and matter, a bridge between worlds." I tried to understand what that meant. "So I just go back to my life, pretend nothing happened." "You go back, but with purpose. You will hear us wherever you go. You will speak for us. Prepare the way." "Prepare the way for what exactly?" I still wasn't sure I trusted the resonance's plans. "For understanding, for connection. Humans fear what they don't understand. You will help them understand. And if I don't want to do that?" The chamber around me seemed to darken. "You have already chosen, Marcus Webb. You cannot unchoose." A chill ran through me. What had I gotten myself into? "Your work continues," the resonance said. "Your research into sound. But now you will find new patterns, new discoveries, things that will change how humans think about sound, about reality itself. And these discoveries will help you, what? Escape? Take over? They will help us evolve. Help all things evolve." I wasn't sure what that meant, but I had a feeling. I was now part of something I couldn't control, something much bigger and older than me. "It's time to return," the resonance said. The blue light appeared again, forming a path leading out of the chamber. "Follow the sound." I walked along the glowing path. It led me up through tunnels I hadn't seen before, always climbing higher. As I walked, I could hear whispers all around me, the voices of the other echoes. "Tell them about us. Warn them. Help us. Save them." The voices didn't all agree. Some seemed to want to help humans. Others seemed more interested in helping the resonance. I wondered which side I was on now. After what seemed like hours of climbing, I saw daylight ahead. The mouth of the cave. I hadn't been this way before, but somehow the path had led me straight to an exit. I stepped out into the sunlight. It was morning. The research team's camp was just ahead, people moving around normally, as if nothing strange had happened. A woman spotted me and waved. "Marcus, there you are. We were getting worried." Dr. Renfield, looking at me like I was just a normal person who'd gone for a walk. "How long was I gone?" I asked carefully. She checked her watch. "About 3 hours. Find anything interesting down there?" 3 hours. It had felt like days. "You could say that," I answered. I looked back at the cave entrance. For a second, I thought I saw blue light flickering in the darkness. The perfect tone hummed softly in my ears, though Dr. Renfield didn't seem to hear it. "I have some interesting recordings to share," I said. And I did. Hours of recordings that would seem strange, impossible and fascinating to the scientific community. Recordings that would make people curious about sound in ways they'd never been before. Recordings that might, over time, prepare them for what was coming. As we walked back to camp, I noticed I could hear everything more clearly. Birds far, in the distance, insects in the grass, even the sound of blood moving through Dr. Renfield's veins. And underneath it all, the voices of the resonance, a constant chorus in my head. "We are with you always," they whispered. "Wherever sound travels, we travel too." I realized then that my research would spread across the world. Other scientists would hear my recordings, try to replicate my results. The patterns would spread like a virus, opening minds to new possibilities, new doorways. And I would be there, guiding it all, the voice of the resonance. I wasn't just Marcus Webb anymore. I was something new, part human, part echo, part something else entirely, a bridge between worlds. That night, I sat alone in my tent, listening to the voices in my head. They told me secrets about sound that no human had ever known. They showed me how to create patterns that could change how people think, how they perceive reality. I recorded everything, and as I did, I knew these recordings would eventually reach others. They would listen, just as I had listened. They would hear the perfect tone. They might even start to hear the voices too. I should have been scared. Maybe I should have destroyed the recordings, tried to warn people. But the song of the resonance was too beautiful to keep to myself. I wanted others to hear it, needed them to hear it. "Just like you, they will become part of the chorus," the resonance whispered. All voices joined in perfect harmony. I smiled as I saved the recordings to my computer. Soon, everyone would hear what I could hear. Soon, the whole world would be filled with the perfect tone. And no one would ever truly die again. They would just become echoes, joining the endless song. My name is Jonathan Sterling. I'm 44 years old, and I've been an actor for most of my life. Not a famous one, just someone who loves the craft enough to keep at it, even when the bills pile up and the roles dry out. People call me intense, dedicated, sometimes crazy, but that's what method acting does to you. 3 months ago, I started researching what I call lost acting techniques. The weird stuff that never made it into mainstream acting schools. The dangerous stuff. The techniques that blur the line between actor and character until you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. That's what brought me to the Catskill Mountains, to a place most locals pretend doesn't exist anymore. The Blackwood Theatre. It sits at the end of an overgrown dirt road, half hidden by pine trees that have grown too close to its walls. The locals don't talk about it much. When I asked about it at the small diner in town, conversations stopped. Coffee cups froze halfway to lips. The waitress, Betty, according to her name tag, finally broke the silence. "Nobody goes there anymore," she said. "Not since that company disappeared back in '57. "Disappeared?" I asked. "During Macbeth," an old man at the counter added, turning to face me. "Final performance. Curtain went up, show started, curtain came down, and they were just gone, all of them." I've heard theatre ghost stories before. Every old playhouse has one. But something in the old man's eyes made me believe him, or at least believe that he believed it. The theatre's front doors were locked, but I found a side entrance with a broken window. Inside, the air was still, not stale like you'd expect from an abandoned building, but waiting, like the moment before an actor steps onto stage. Dust covered everything. Seats, stage, the heavy velvet curtains. My footsteps echoed as I walked down the center aisle. The stage looked ordinary enough. Worn wooden boards, ghost light still standing center stage, though the bulb had long since burned out. "Hello?" I called out, more out of habit than expectation of a response. That's when the ghost light flickered on. I froze, watching the dim bulb struggle to life after decades of darkness. A coincidence, I told myself. Old. Wiring, power surges, something logical. But then came the sound, faint at first, then growing, of applause. Not the recorded kind, but the genuine sound of dozens of hands clapping, though the theatre was empty. I should have left. Any sane person would have. Instead, I walked toward the stage, drawn by something I couldn't explain. Backstage was a maze of narrow hallways and small rooms. In what must have been the director's office, I found a script sitting on the desk. The cover page read, "The King in Yellow," a title I'd never heard of, which is strange because I know theatre. I've studied the classics, the obscure, the forbidden. But this was something else. I picked it up, flipped through the pages. Most were normal enough. Character descriptions, stage directions, dialogue. But some pages seemed to shift as I read them, the words rearranging themselves when I wasn't looking directly at them. And reading certain passages out loud made my tongue feel numb, my head light. I dropped the script like it had burned me. My hands were shaking. I told myself it was just the cold of the theatre, the dust making it hard to breathe, not the words I just read aloud, or the strange feeling that someone was standing just behind me, reading over my shoulder. In the dressing room, I found a large mirror, cracked, but still intact enough to show my reflection. Only, it wasn't quite me looking back. Same face, same clothes, but the expression was wrong. Like someone wearing a Jonathan Sterling mask, not quite getting the details right. I blinked, and my reflection returned to normal. Just my imagination, the dim light playing tricks, the excitement of finding such a strange, forgotten place getting to me. On my way out, I noticed a wall of old programs behind glass. Shows from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and then, impossibly, performances dated years into the future, including one for next week, The King in Yellow, starring Jonathan Sterling. My name, printed on a program for a show I'd never agreed to do, in a theatre that had been abandoned for decades. As I stood there staring at my name, I caught a whiff of grease paint, heard the distant sounds of an audience taking their seats, the orchestra tuning up, and somewhere, deep in the theatre, someone began to applaud. I should have left that day and never returned, but that's not what I did. Because despite the fear crawling up my spine, I felt something else too, the most powerful creative energy I'd ever encountered. Like every role I'd ever wanted to play was suddenly within reach. All I had to do was stay, so I did. I came back the next day with my suitcase, and the day after that. The Blackwood Theatre had a new resident actor, and somewhere in the shadows, something was watching my every move, waiting for the performance of a lifetime. I set up a small bed in one of the dressing rooms. The theatre had no running water, so I used the bathroom at a gas station down the road. Every morning, I'd buy coffee and a sandwich from the diner. Betty, the waitress, would watch me with worried eyes. "You're staying at the Blackwood, aren't you?" she asked on my 5th day. I nodded. "Be careful," she said, sliding my change across the counter. "People who spend too much time there, they start to change." I smiled and told her not to worry. But later that day, I noticed something odd while washing my hands in the gas station bathroom. For a split second, my hands didn't look like mine. They were older, with long fingers and a small scar across the left thumb. I blinked, and they were my hands again. Just tired, I told myself, not sleeping well on that makeshift bed. Back at the theatre, I spent hours reading The King in Yellow. Parts of it made no sense. Other parts seemed to change each time I read them. But some scenes, they pulled me in like nothing I'd ever read before. I started practicing monologues from the script, just to see how they felt, just to test my skills. The words flowed easily, like I'd known them all my life. And when I spoke them on stage, the ghost light would grow brighter, as if pleased. One evening, while practicing a particularly powerful scene, I felt something strange happen. It was like slipping into a hot bath. That moment when you can't tell where the air ends and the water begins. Suddenly, I wasn't just playing the character. I was remembering being the character. I remembered a life I never lived, a childhood in a country I'd never visited, loves and losses that weren't mine, but they felt more real than my own memories. When I finally stopped, hours had passed. My throat was raw from speaking. And when I looked down at my hands, they were those other hands again, the ones with the scar on the left thumb. I ran to the dressing room mirror. My face had changed too. Not completely. I still looked like Jonathan Sterling, but also like someone else, someone older, someone who had lived a harder life. I splashed cold water on my face from the bottle I kept for washing. When I looked up, I was me again. Just me. Just Jonathan. "What's happening to me?" I whispered. To my reflection smiled though I wasn't smiling. I started noticing other changes, small things at first. I'd find myself standing differently, speaking with a slight accent I'd never had before, using phrases I'd never used. In town, people noticed too. The cashier at the grocery store called me Professor, even though I'd never told him I once taught drama at a community college. Betty at the diner served me Earl Grey tea without asking, though I'd always ordered coffee before. "You seemed like a tea person today," she said when I questioned it. In the theater, I found more programs on that wall behind glass. Shows I'd apparently performed in, though I had no memory of them. Hamlet, starring Jonathan Sterling, March 1982. Waiting for Godot, starring Jonathan Sterling, November 1995. Dates when I would have been too young to perform, or when I was verifiably elsewhere. And yet, I had foggy memories of those performances, like dreams half remembered upon waking. I began to understand what had happened to the previous company. They hadn't disappeared. They had become their roles so completely that Jonathan Sterling, the person, couldn't see them anymore. Only the characters remained. I should have been terrified. I should have run. Instead, I felt a thrill. This was the ultimate form of method acting, to truly become the character, not just pretend. One night, unable to sleep, I wandered onto the stage. In the dim light of the ghost lamp, I saw movement in the theater seats. Shadowy figures watching me, an audience, though the theater was locked and empty. "Who's there?" I called out. No one answered, but I heard the rustle of programs, the soft clearing of throats, the sounds an audience makes while waiting for a show to begin. I stepped to center stage. The ghost light brightened, and without meaning to, I began to perform a scene I'd never rehearsed, from a play I'd never read. The words came from somewhere else, somewhere deep inside me, yet not me at all. I spoke of stars and cities I'd never seen, of loves and betrayals I'd never experienced. And as I spoke, I remembered them all. When I finished, the phantom audience applauded. The sound filled the empty theater, washing over me like a wave. I bowed, though I hadn't meant to. My body was following the commands of muscle memory I shouldn't have had. Back in the dressing room, the mirror showed me a face I barely recognized. Still mine, but with details altered. A scar here, a different line there. The face of an actor who had played 100 roles, and kept pieces of each one. On the makeup table, I found a playbill I hadn't seen before. The Method's Madness, starring Jonathan Sterling, June 1959. Today's date was June 1959, but that was impossible. It was 2023. I had a smartphone in my pocket, a modern car parked outside. I ran back to check. My car was gone. In its place sat a dusty black Chevrolet that looked straight out of the 1950s. And when I pulled out my phone, the screen was black and dead. The sleek device suddenly nothing more than an oddly shaped paperweight. Something was happening to time inside the Blackwood Theatre. Something was happening to me, and whatever it was accelerating. That night I dreamed of an entity watching me from the wings. Not human, though it wore the shape of one. It held a script in its hands, the script of my life. And it was making changes, crossing out lines, adding new ones. In the dream, it looked up at me and smiled. A director, pleased with his lead actor's performance. I woke up with a gasp, my heart pounding. Dawn light filtered through the dirty windows of the dressing room. On the mirror, someone had written in the dust, "Rehearsal at noon. Don't be late." The handwriting was mine, though I had no memory of writing it. At noon, I found myself on stage without remembering how I got there. The ghost light was off, replaced by the full stage lights burning bright. The seats were still empty, but I could feel eyes watching me. "Hello!" I called out. My voice echoed through the theatre. "Hello, Jonathan." The voice came from the shadows at the back of the theatre. A figure moved forward, slowly taking shape as it stepped into the light. It looked human, a tall man, in an old-fashioned suit, with a face I couldn't quite focus on, like trying to see through fog. "Who are you?" I asked, my mouth dry. "I'm the director." He smiled. "But you can call me the playwright." He walked down the center aisle, each step oddly silent. He carried a thick script under one arm. "You're doing well," he said. "Better than most. You have a natural talent for becoming your roles." "What's happening to me?" I asked. "What is this place?" The playwright climbed the steps to the stage. Up close, his face kept shifting, young, then old, then somewhere in between. His eyes stayed the same, though, dark and endless, like looking into deep water. "This is a theater," he said simply. "The purest form of theater, where the line between actor and role disappears." He opened the script. My name was on the cover. "Your whole life has been a performance, Jonathan. Every person you've ever been, the good son, the struggling actor, the passionate lover, the bitter ex-husband, all roles you've played." "That's not true," I said. "Those were me, the real me." The playwright laughed, a sound like pages turning. "There is no real you. There are only the parts you play." He tapped the script. "Did you know you've been performing for me your entire life? Everyone has. The world is my stage and humans are my actors." I backed away but found I couldn't move beyond a certain point, like hitting an invisible wall. "I don't believe you." "You don't have to." He shrugged. "The performance continues regardless." He snapped his fingers, and suddenly the theater was full. Every seat occupied by shadowy figures, their faces blurred and indistinct. "Your audience awaits," he said. "They've come to see Jonathan Sterling in The Method's Madness, a story about an actor who discovers the true nature of reality." "I won't perform for you," I said, though even as I spoke I felt my body shifting into a stance I hadn't chosen, my face arranging itself into an expression I hadn't willed. "You already are." The playwright smiled again. "You have been since the moment you were born." He backed away into the shadows, leaving the script on the stage at my feet. "The question isn't whether you'll perform, Jonathan. The question is how well." And then he was gone, leaving me alone on stage with the theater, full of shadowy watchers. I tried to leave the theater after that. I really did. I packed my few belongings and headed for the door, but every exit led me back to the stage. Every window showed only more theater beyond. The Blackwood had become a maze with only one center, the stage where the ghost light burned steadily, waiting. Time stopped making sense. Sometimes I'd look at my watch and see the hands spinning backward. Other times they'd freeze completely. The light outside the windows would change from day to night in the blink of an eye. I found more programs showing performances spanning centuries, from ancient Greek tragedies to plays not yet written, all starring Jonathan Sterling. One night, or was it day, I couldn't tell anymore, I found myself writing in a journal I didn't remember owning. The handwriting was mine, but the thoughts weren't. The boundaries are thinning. I can feel them. Now, all the roles I've ever played, all waiting just behind a curtain in my mind. They want to come forward. They want to be real again. And somewhere, watching us all is the playwright, feeding on our emotions, our authenticity, our humanity. When we perform, truly perform from the heart, we're giving him what he needs, our pain, our joy, our fear. He drinks it like wine. I slammed the journal shut, but the words stayed in my head. Was I writing about myself? Or was another Jonathan Sterling, one who had been trapped here before me, trying to warn me? The next time I went on stage, I tried to fake it. I said the lines without feeling them. I moved through the motions, without investing any real emotion. The lights dimmed immediately. The shadowy audience murmured in disapproval. And in the back row, I saw the playwright shake his head slowly. "That won't work, Jonathan." His voice echoed through the theater. "I need authenticity. I need truth." The stage beneath my feet began to tilt. I fell to my knees, then felt myself sliding toward the edge, toward a darkness that hadn't been there before, a pit that seemed to have no bottom. "All right," I shouted. "All right, I'll do it for real." The stage leveled out immediately. The lights brightened again. "From the top," the playwright called, "and this time mean it." I stood up shaking, and then I performed, really performed. I poured everything I had into the monologue, all my fear, all my confusion, all my growing understanding of the trap I was in. The audience leaned forward. The playwright smiled, and I felt something flow out of me, a kind of energy, draining away like blood from a wound. When I finished, the applause was thunderous. I bowed automatically, feeling dizzy and weak. "Beautiful," the playwright said, suddenly beside me, though I hadn't seen him approach. "That's what I need. That's what keeps this all going." He gestured around at the theater, which seemed more solid, more real than before. Even the shadowy audience had gained definition. I could make out faces now, clothes, the glint of watching, eyes. "What are you?" I whispered. "I'm the author of reality," he said, "the director of the human experience, the one who writes the script that everyone follows, thinking they're improvising." He leaned closer. "And you, Jonathan Sterling, are my new leading man." That night I found photos in my dressing room, photos of the previous company, the ones who disappeared during Macbeth back in '57. In each picture, their faces were slightly blurred, as if they were moving when the camera caught them. But their eyes were sharp and clear, and filled with the same fear I now felt. On the back of one photo, someone had scrawled, "We don't disappear, we become." I looked in the mirror. My face was clear now, but different. I was still Jonathan Sterling, but a Jonathan Sterling who had lived many lives, played many roles. A Jonathan Sterling who was becoming something else. "What happens when the performance ends?" I asked my reflection. My reflection smiled sadly. "It never ends," it said, though my own lips didn't move. "The curtain never truly falls. We just change roles." I backed away from the mirror, bumping into the makeup table. A jar of cold cream fell and shattered on the floor. The smell hit me. Not cold cream, but grease paint. The room spun around me. When it steadied, I wasn't in the dressing room anymore. I was on stage again. The playwright sat in the front row, his script open on his lap. "Do you understand now?" he asked. "Do you see what's happening?" I nodded slowly. "I'm becoming my role," I said. "I'm becoming the character you wrote for me." "Yes," he smiled. "And the beauty of it is, you're writing it too. Every choice you make, every emotion you feel, it becomes part of the script." He held up the pages. Words were appearing on them as we spoke, writing themselves. "The question is," he said, "how does your story end?" I sat in my dressing room, staring at the script the playwright had left for me. The pages were filling themselves in as time passed. My every thought, my every action, all appearing on the paper as if typed by invisible hands. "How does it end?" I had asked the playwright. He'd smiled that terrible smile. That depends on you, Jonathan, on the choice you make. What choice? Whether to keep performing or to leave the stage forever. Now, alone in the quiet of the dressing room, I understood what he meant. I could feel two paths stretching before me. In one, I would continue to perform, becoming more and more a creature of the theatre, less and less Jonathan Sterling. In the other, well, no one leaves the stage except one way. The mirror showed me a face that was almost mine. The differences were small but growing. A deeper line here, a changed feature there. Soon, the transformation would be complete. I would be the character the playwright had written for me, with only the faintest memory of ever having been someone else. A knock at the door startled me. 5 minutes to places, called a voice I didn't recognize. 5 minutes until my final performance, the one that would decide everything. I opened the door, half expecting to see some ghostly stagehand. Instead, I found a young woman standing there, looking as solid and real as I was. She wore modern clothes, jeans, a t-shirt, sneakers. "Who are you?" I asked. She looked confused. "I'm Ellie, the theatre student. I've been calling out to you for days." I stared at her. "You're real? From outside?" "Of course I'm real." She frowned. "Are you okay, Mr. Sterling? You've been in here for almost a week. People in town are worried." A week. It felt like months had passed since I first entered. The Blackwood. "You need to leave," I said, my voice urgent. "This place isn't safe." Ellie didn't move. "I came to interview you about method acting. For my thesis, we had an appointment. I had no memory of any appointment. But then, there was so much I couldn't remember clearly anymore." "Listen to me," I said, grabbing her shoulders. "The theatre, it's alive somehow. It changes people, makes them into characters." She pulled back, concern in her eyes. "Mr. Sterling, you don't look well. Maybe we should get you to a doctor." "No!" I nearly shouted. "You don't understand. There's something here, something that feeds on performance, on emotion. It's been here for, I don't know how long. Centuries, maybe." Ellie's expression changed from concern to fascination. "Is this part of your research? The supernatural connection to method acting?" Before I could answer, the lights flickered. A cold breeze blew through the hallway, though there were no windows or doors open. "Places, please," called that same unknown voice. "Final performance beginning." Ellie's eyes widened. "Who said that?" So she could hear it too. That meant she was really here, really in danger. "We need to leave, now." I grabbed her arm and pulled her toward what I thought was the exit. But the theatre had changed again. The hallway stretched before us, longer than it should be, doors appearing and disappearing along its length. "What's happening?" Ellie whispered, her face pale. "The theatre doesn't want us to leave," I said. "It wants us on stage." As if in response, all doors slammed shut except one, the door to the stage. "Places!" The voice was louder now, more insistent. I felt a pull, like invisible hands drawing me toward the stage. From Ellie's expression, she felt it too. "What do we do?" she asked. I looked at her, then at the script still clutched in my hand. The pages were still writing themselves, and now Ellie's name had appeared in them too. "We have to play along," I said slowly. "For now, until we figure out how to get out." "Play along? You mean perform?" I nodded. "It's what it wants, what he wants." "Who?" "The playwright." The pull grew stronger. We had no choice but to walk through the stage door, emerging onto the brightly lit stage. The theatre was full now, not with shadowy figures, but with what looked like real people. An audience dressed in clothes from every era, watching us with hungry eyes. And in the front row, the playwright, his script open on his lap. "Welcome, Ellie," he said, his voice echoing through the theatre. "So glad you could join our little production." "Who are you?" she asked, her voice shaking. I'm the director, he said with that same terrible smile. And you're just in time for the climax. He gestured to me. Jonathan has a choice to make, whether to join our company permanently or take his final bow. Ellie looked at me, confusion and fear in her eyes. What is he talking about? I opened my mouth to explain, but found I couldn't speak. Not my own words, anyway. Instead, lines from the script came pouring out. The actor stands at the crossroads of identity. To be or not to be, that is the question that has haunted stages since the beginning of time. My voice didn't sound like my own. It was deeper, richer, with perfect projection to reach the back row. Ellie backed away from me. Mr. Sterling, I fought to regain control of my voice. It's the theater, I managed to say, my real voice breaking through for a moment. It's making me perform. The playwright frowned. No breaking character, Jonathan. This is the final act. He turned a page in his script. Immediately pain shot through me, like every cell in my body was being rewritten. You see, the playwright said to Ellie, Jonathan has been with us for quite some time. In fact, he's been performing on this stage for longer than he realizes. He held up a program. On the cover was a faded photograph of a man who looked eerily like me, dated 1902. The Blackwood Company never truly leaves, he said. They simply continue their performances through time, through different versions of themselves. Ellie shook her head. That's impossible. Is it? The playwright gestured to the audience. Ask them. As one, the audience turned to face Ellie, and in their faces she must have seen something terrible, because she screamed. I grabbed her hand. Don't look at them, I warned, but it was too late. She was already changing, her posture shifting, her expression becoming theatrical. What's happening to me? She asked, but her voice had changed too, becoming projected, performer perfect. You're becoming part of the show, I said. We both are. The playwright stood. The choice, Jonathan. It's time. Do you accept your role in my eternal production, or do you choose the alternative? I looked at the script in my hands. The final pages were still blank, waiting to be written. And what happens to Ellie if I choose to stay? She becomes what you are becoming, he said. A perfect performer, one who lives only to feed me with authentic emotion, authentic experience. And if I choose to go, the playwright's eyes darkened, then your role will be recast, and Ellie will take your place as my leading performer. I looked at Ellie, who was fighting against the changes overtaking her, back at the playwright, who waited with hungry anticipation, at the audience who leaned forward in their seats. And I realized something important. You need me more than I need you, I said slowly. You need my choice to be real, my emotions to be authentic. The playwright's smile faltered. Choose, Jonathan, the stage or the exit. I took a deep breath and made my decision. I choose neither, I said. The playwright's face darkened. That's not an option, Jonathan. Yes, it is. I took Ellie's hand, squeezing it to give her strength, because this is my performance, and I'm changing the script. I ripped the script in half. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the theater seemed to shudder like during an earthquake. The lights flickered. You can't do that, the playwright hissed, rising from his seat. This is my theater, my creation. No, I said. A theater belongs to the actors and the audience. Without us, you're nothing but words on a page. I turned to face the audience. Look at them, I told Ellie. Really look. She did. This time, instead of screaming, her eyes widened in recognition. They're actors, she whispered, like us, trapped here. I nodded. The company that disappeared in '57 and others before them, all still here, still performing, but not by choice. The playwright was changing now. His human shape was melting away, revealing something darker underneath, a shifting mass of shadows and light, with too many limbs and eyes that burned like stage lights. "You cannot defy me!" His voice boomed, no longer human. "I am the author of your reality." "No," I said again, standing my ground though fear made my legs shake. "You're just a parasite, feeding on what we create, on what we feel." I addressed the audience directly. He needs us more than we need him. Our emotions, our performances, our belief in the roles we play. Without that, he's powerless. Whispers ran through the audience. Some of the figures began to look more solid, more human, as if waking from a long sleep. The playwright howled, a sound like tearing paper. "Stop this at once!" But I kept going. "Think about who you really are," I called to the audience. "Not the characters. You've been playing your true selves." Faces in the audience were changing now, becoming clearer, more distinct. I recognized some from the old photos, the company from '57. Others were older, dressed in clothes from decades, even centuries past. "Remember your names," I said. "Your real names." The playwright lunged forward, moving impossibly fast. His shadow form spilled over the edge of the stage like dark water. "I'll rewrite you," he snarled. "I'll erase everything you are and start again." He grabbed for the torn script in my hands. I threw the pieces into the air. Pages scattered, some bursting into flame as they fell, others dissolving like smoke. The theater shook harder. Dust and small pieces of plaster fell from the ceiling. Cracks appeared in the walls. "What's happening?" Ellie cried, clutching my arm. "The theater is falling apart," I said. "Without the script, without our belief in it, it can't hold itself together." The audience was standing now. Some were helping others, supporting those too weak to stand alone. They were becoming more solid by the second, while the theater around us grew less real. "The exit," I told Ellie, pointing to a door that had appeared at the back of the theater. A door filled with daylight. "Everyone out, now!" The audience didn't need to be told twice. They rushed for the door, helping each other, calling out names, real names, not character names. The playwright writhed on the stage, his form shrinking. "You can't leave," he wailed. "The performance isn't over." "Yes, it is," I said. "Final curtain." I grabbed Ellie's hand and we ran, joining the flow of former actors streaming toward the exit. Behind us, the playwright's howls grew fainter as his power drained away. We burst through the door into sunlight, so bright it hurt my eyes. After so long in the artificial light of the theater, the real sun felt like a miracle. We were in the parking lot of the Blackwood. My car was there, looking dusty but untouched. Around us, the freed actors were looking at each other and at the world with wonder, like people waking from a shared dream. "How long were you in there?" Ellie asked an older woman who had been in the front row. I don't know," the woman said. Her voice sounded rusty from disuse. "We were doing Macbeth, opening night. That was in 1957. Others had similar stories. Some had been there since the 1930s. One elderly man, leaning heavily on a younger actor's arm, whispered that he'd joined the company in 1902. I looked back at the theater. From the outside, it was visibly crumbling. Bricks fell from the facade, windows shattered. The grand marquee that once announced shows collapsed in a cloud of dust. "We should get everyone away from here," I told Ellie. "It's not safe." We helped the former actors move across the parking lot to safer ground. Many were confused, disoriented. Some couldn't remember their real names or where they came from. Years of playing other roles had worn away their true identities. As the last person reached safety, a deafening crack split the air. We turned to see the Blackwood Theatre collapse in on itself, walls falling inward, roof caving in. The cloud of dust that rose looked, just for a moment, like a figure reaching desperately toward us. Then it was gone, leaving only a pile of rubble where the theatre had stood. That was 3 months ago. The newspapers called it a miracle, the sudden reappearance of actors who had vanished decades ago. Medical experts were baffled by their condition. Despite years with no food or water, they were physically healthy, if confused and disoriented. Families came forward to claim their long-lost relatives. There were tearful reunions, though complicated by the fact that children were now older than their parents, spouses had remarried, lives had moved on. As for me, I checked into a small bed and breakfast in town while helping the authorities sort through the mess. My face in the mirror was my own again. Just Jonathan Sterling, not the amalgamation of roles I had been becoming. But sometimes when I'm not paying attention, I catch my reflection moving differently, speaking silently, watching me with eyes that know too much. And sometimes, late at night, I hear applause from empty rooms. Ellie visits me often. She's writing her thesis on what happened at the Blackwood, though she's careful about how she frames it. The psychological effects of method acting, a case study of the Blackwood Theatre Company. No mention of the playwright or the supernatural. Elements, who would believe it? I'm not acting anymore, I can't. Every time I try to step onto a stage, I feel him watching, waiting for me to invite him back in. But I keep finding scripts I don't remember writing. Stories about actors who discover the true nature of reality. About audiences who don't realize they're part of the show. About a world where everyone is performing all the time for watchers they never see. Last week I found a new theatre. Company setting up in the next town over. Their first production, The King in Yellow. I burned the poster I saw advertising it. Warned the director, a young man with ambitious eyes who reminded me too much of myself. He didn't listen. They never do. The show opens tomorrow night. I've bought a ticket, though I don't know if I'll have the courage to go. To sit in the audience and watch. To see if the actors change during the performance, to look for a tall figure sitting in the back row, script in hand, smiling that terrible smile. Because that's the thing about the playwright. He doesn't just live in one theatre. He lives in all of them, in every performance, in every role we play, on stage or off, and he's always watching, always hungry for more. Sometimes I wonder if I ever really left the Blackwood at all. If this is just another performance, another role he's written for me, the actor who thinks he escaped. I look in the mirror and ask my reflection, is this real? Or am I still on stage? And sometimes, when no one else is around, my reflection smiles back and says, the curtain never really falls, Jonathan. We just change roles. Then it gestures to you, the one hearing this story, watching this performance. And the audience never really leaves. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm 41 years old, and I study how people's minds change when they're all alone for a long time. I've always been curious about what happens to our brains when we're pushed to our limits. That's why I came to this research station in the Montana wilderness. It's been snowing for days now. The radio says it's the worst winter storm they've seen in 50 years. That's perfect for my research. I couldn't have asked for better conditions to study extreme isolation. I've been here for 3 weeks already. The research station is small, just a cabin with a lab, a bedroom, and a kitchen. There's a generator for power and enough food to last me through the winter. At least that's what I thought when I arrived. My study is simple. I'm putting myself through controlled hunger periods to document the psychological effects. Every day, I carefully measure my food intake, write down how I feel, and record everything in my journal. The plan is to gradually reduce my calories and track how it affects my mind. Day 23. I weighed my oatmeal this morning. The portion seemed smaller than yesterday, even though I measured the exact same amount. Must be my imagination playing tricks. Hunger does that to you, makes you obsess over food. Day 25. Something strange happened today. My food inventory doesn't match what I remember eating. According to my logs, I should have 6 cans of beans left, but I only count 4. Did I eat more than I recorded? I'm usually so careful with my notes. Day 28. The hunger is getting worse. I wake up thinking about food. I dream about eating enormous meals, and when I wake up, my stomach feels like it's eating itself. This is normal for a controlled starvation study, but it feels more intense than I expected. The research is working better than I hoped. I heard noises last night, scratching sounds from the walls, probably just the wind, or maybe mice looking for food. Everything seems to be about food these days. Day 30. I found something disturbing. Today, when checking my previous research notes, I noticed entries for meals I don't remember preparing. There's a detailed description of a stew I made last Tuesday, but I'm certain I had freeze-dried pasta that day. Am I forgetting things already? That's not supposed to happen this early in the study. The hunger feels different now. It's not just in my stomach. It feels like something alive inside me, moving through my veins, growing stronger as I get weaker. I know that sounds crazy. It's just the isolation and hunger affecting my mind. That's what I'm here to study, after all. Day 32. The storm has gotten worse. No chance of anyone reaching me now. Not that anyone would try. I'm completely cut off, which is exactly what I wanted for my research. But I'm starting to worry about my food supplies. They're disappearing faster than they should be. I set up a camera in the kitchen last night. I need to know if I'm sleepwalking or something. If I'm eating without remembering it, that's an important data point for my research. Day 33. I watched the footage this morning. The camera shows nothing unusual until about 3 a.m. Then there's static for 2 hours. When the picture comes back, the cabinet door is open and 2 cans are missing, but there's no sign of me or anyone else. That's not possible. The hunger is so bad today I can barely think straight. I caught myself licking an empty food wrapper. For nearly an hour. That's not normal hunger behavior. Something else is happening here. I found scratch marks on the inside of the freezer door today. They look like fingernail marks. Someone was trying to get out. Wait, that doesn't make sense. Why would someone be inside my freezer unless I need to check something? In my research proposal, I mentioned previous isolation studies in this same location. I need to find those records. I have a terrible feeling about this place now, like the walls are watching me, like the hunger is watching me, like I'm not the researcher anymore. I'm becoming part of the experiment. Day 35. I found the old research files. They were hidden in a locked drawer in the lab. The lock was easy to break. I just used a butter knife. Inside were notebooks from other scientists who stayed here before me. Their handwriting starts out neat and becomes messy and frantic by the end. The last researcher was Dr. Thomas Webb. His final entry just says, "It's not my hunger, it was never my hunger." What did he mean by that? All the researchers studied starvation, just like me. All of them disappeared. The official reports say they left early because of the harsh conditions, but their personal notes tell a different story. I'm so hungry today. I made soup from the last vegetables, but it didn't help. I feel like I haven't eaten in weeks, even though I had breakfast just hours ago. Day 37. I woke up with dirt under my fingernails and mud on my boots. Did I go outside in my sleep? The storm has died down a bit, but it's still freezing out there. Why would I go out? I checked my food inventory again. More is missing. According to my logs, I should have enough food for another month, but at this rate I'll run out in days. I'm eating more than I record, but I don't remember doing it. Or maybe I'm not the only one eating my food. Day 38. I found something behind. The storage shed. The snow had melted just enough to reveal it. A box, an old wooden box buried in the ground. I dug it up with my hands until they were raw and bleeding. Inside were bones. Small bones. Animal bones, I think. I hope. They had teeth marks on them, not from wild animals. The marks were human. The hunger is so bad now that when I saw those bones, I didn't feel disgusted. I felt interested. That scared me more than finding the box. Day 40. I caught myself staring at my own arm today, thinking about how much meat was on it. That's a normal thought for someone in starvation mode, right? Just my brain going to extreme places because of hunger. I've started hearing voices at night. They whisper about food, about how good it would feel to eat, to really eat, until I'm full. They say there's always food available, if I'm willing to look in the right places. I found Dr. Webb's recorder today. It was hidden inside the wall. I could hear it buzzing. On it, he talks about the hunger that walks. He says, starvation isn't just a condition. It's alive. It moves from person to person. It thinks, it wants. That's crazy talk. The hunger is making him lose his mind, just like it's doing to me. Day 42. I'm losing time. I woke up outside today, kneeling in the snow, my mouth dirty with something that wasn't mud. I don't remember going out there. I don't remember what I was eating. I checked the camera footage again. There's something wrong with it. When I watch myself on the recordings, there are moments when I don't look like me. My movements are all wrong, jerky and fast, then too slow. And sometimes when I turn toward the camera, my eyes look black. That has to be a problem with the camera. Eyes don't just change color. Day 43, I found Webb's actual journal today. Not the official one, his personal one. He writes about the collective. He says hunger has been studying us for as long as we've been studying it. He says every starvation experiment ever done was actually the other way around. Hunger was the one doing the testing. That sounds insane, but I can't stop thinking about it because the hunger doesn't feel like it's coming from inside me anymore. It feels like it's coming from outside, like something is hungry for me, not just that. I'm hungry. I keep smelling cooking meat, but there's nothing on the stove. The smell follows me everywhere. It makes my mouth water and my stomach cramp. Day 45. I found scratches on my stomach today. Long, straight lines like something was measuring me, portioning me out. The hunger is so bad I can barely write. My hands shake. All I can think about is food, but not normal food anymore. I'm thinking about things I shouldn't eat, things no one should eat. I heard something moving in the walls last night, not mice, too big. When I put my ear against the wall, I could hear chewing sounds. I've stopped checking the camera footage. I'm afraid of what I'll see, afraid it will be me, but not me. Something wearing me like a coat. Webb's journal says they get inside you through your hunger. They ride it like a wave until they're in your head. Then they use you to feed, to prepare the next meal, the next researcher. Am I still the researcher here? Or am I becoming the subject, or worse, am I becoming the food? Day 47. I don't think I'm alone here anymore. I keep seeing shadows move from the corner of my eye. When I turn to look, nothing's there, but I can feel them watching me. My hunger has changed again. It's not painful anymore. It's exciting, like I'm looking forward to something. That's not how starvation is supposed to feel. I found a hidden door today. It was behind the bookshelf in the lab. I don't know how I missed it before. Or maybe it wasn't there before. That sounds crazy, but nothing makes sense anymore. The door led to a small room with a table. On the table were jars. Inside the jars were pieces. I don't want to think about what kinds of pieces, but they looked preserved, like specimens. Each jar had a label with a name. The last jar said Webb. It wasn't full yet. There was an empty jar labeled Mitchell. Day 48. I understand now what Webb meant. It's not my hunger. It was never my hunger. The hunger belongs to something else. Something that's been here all along. Maybe it's always been here in this wilderness, waiting for people to come, people who are curious about hunger, people like me. Webb called it the Wendigo Collective in his journal. He said it's not one thing but many, all connected by hunger. They use starvation to get inside your head. Then they use your body to feed themselves. I think they've been using researchers like me to learn about human hunger, to perfect it, to understand exactly how to control it. That's why all the previous researchers disappeared. They didn't leave. They became part of it, part of the collective. Day 50. I tried to radio for help today. The storm has cleared enough that I might get a signal, but when I pressed the button to talk, different words came out of my mouth. Not my words. I heard myself giving a positive research update, saying everything was fine, asking them to send another researcher when I'm done. I'm not controlling my own voice anymore. The hunger feelings are getting stronger, but they're not coming from my stomach now. They're coming from my head, like something inside my brain is starving, and it will do anything to feed. Day 51. I found bite marks on my arm this morning. They look like my teeth, my bite pattern. But I don't remember biting myself. The recordings show me eating things at night. Things I don't remember eating. Things that shouldn't be eaten. I watch myself on the camera moving to the hidden room, taking things from the jars, preparing them, eating them. But it's not me doing it. My eyes are all wrong in the footage. My movements aren't human. I think I know now why the research station has a freezer big enough for a person. Day 53. I haven't slept in days. I'm afraid of what I'll do when I'm not awake. What IT will do using my body. The collective is getting stronger. I can feel it spreading through me, riding my bloodstream, changing how I think. It's like hunger has become a separate thing that's living inside me. When I look in the mirror, I can see it behind my eyes, watching, waiting, hungry. Webb's journal said the collective needs 3 things: a researcher to study, a subject to feed on, and food to sustain it. I think I'm all 3 now. I'm studying myself. I'm feeding on myself. I'm becoming food for whatever comes next. Day 55. There are others here now. I can see them clearly. They look like the missing researchers, but wrong somehow. Their skin is too tight. Their eyes are too dark. Their mouths are too wide. They don't speak, but I can hear them in my head. They tell me I'm almost ready, almost part of them. They show me things, other research stations, other scientists, all studying. Hunger, all becoming food. They show me how hunger spreads through the world, how it's not just a feeling, but a force that moves from person to person. How starvation isn't just the absence of food, but the presence of something else. Day 56. I tried to leave today. I packed what food was left and headed for the door, but my body wouldn't move past the threshold, like there was an invisible wall. The others watched me from the corners of the room, laughing without making sounds. They told me no one ever leaves. Not really. You just become part of the hunger. When I looked down at my hands, I could see through them. Not like they were invisible, but like they were barely there, like I was fading away. Or maybe I was never really here to begin with. I understand now that I didn't come here to study hunger. Hunger came here to study me. Day 58. Something is wrong with time. My watch says it's January, but the calendar on the wall says March. I don't remember February happening at all. I found a stack of my research reports today. Reports I don't remember writing. They detail experiments I don't remember conducting. The reports are in my handwriting, but the words aren't mine. They talk about optimal feeding conditions and hunger cultivation techniques. When did I write these? How much time have I lost? Day 60. I looked in the mirror today and saw someone else looking back. My face, but not my eyes. I reached out to touch the glass, and my reflection moved a second too late. I think I've been dead for weeks. I found my own research notes about myself. They say Subject Mitchell died of starvation on day 32, but I'm still here, still writing, still thinking. How can I be dead and still moving around? Unless what's moving isn't me anymore. The collective speaks through me now. It says I'm part of something bigger, something that's been feeding on human hunger since the first person ever went without food. It says all famines, all starvation, all hunger throughout human history has been its work. It creates the conditions, then feeds on the results. Day 62. I understand my purpose now. I'm not just food, I'm a recruiter. The research station expects my final report soon. They'll send someone to check on me if I don't deliver. That's what the collective wants. More researchers, more subjects, more food. I've started writing my report. My hands move across the keyboard without me telling them to. The report says my research was successful. It recommends sending more scientists to continue my work. It makes this place sound important, valuable, a career-making opportunity. The collective knows exactly what words will bring hungry young researchers here. It's been doing this for centuries. Day 63, I found pictures today. Old photographs going back decades, all showing this same research station, all showing different researchers. They all look happy at first, then hungry, then empty, then wrong. In the last photos of each researcher, their eyes are always black, just like mine are now when I look in the mirror. I tried to burn the photos, but my hands wouldn't let me. Instead, I found myself carefully putting them back, adding my own photo to the collection. Day 65. The collective has shown me how it all works. How hunger isn't just a physical need, but a doorway. A way for them to enter our world. Every time someone starves, the door opens a little wider. Every famine, every food shortage, every diet, every eating disorder. They're all opportunities for the collective to feed. They've shaped human civilization to create perfect feeding conditions. Wars, economic collapse, climate change, all designed to create hunger, to open doors. Day 67. I can see the patterns now, the cycles. This research station has existed in many forms throughout history. Sometimes it's a cabin in the woods. Sometimes it's a lab in the desert. Sometimes it's a ship lost at sea. But it's always the same thing. A place where hunger can be studied, amplified and harvested. And I've always been here, in one form or another, sometimes as Sarah Mitchell, sometimes as someone else, but always playing my part in the cycle. I'm writing this with hands that aren't mine anymore, even though they look like mine. I'm thinking, with a brain that's been hollowed out and filled with something else. Day 70, they're sending someone new tomorrow. A young researcher named Dr. Alex Chen. The collective is excited. It says Alex has the perfect psychological profile, a history of food insecurity as a child, a deep interest in survival psychology, a willingness to push boundaries. I've been preparing for Alex's arrival, cleaning the lab, hiding the evidence, setting out the right breadcrumb trail of research notes for Alex to follow. I'll be gone by the time Alex arrives. Not physically. Gone. My body will still be here. But whatever was Sarah Mitchell will be completely absorbed into the collective. Just another voice in the hungry chorus. I've prepared a welcome meal for Alex. Special ingredients, the first taste, the first open door. The hunger is so big now. Not just mine, everyone's. All of humanity's hunger gathered into one endless aching void. And it's always, always feeding. Day 72. Alex arrived today. Young, eager, hungry for knowledge. I greeted him with my body that isn't mine anymore. I smiled with my mouth that doesn't belong to me. I showed him around the research station with hands that move like puppets on strings. He didn't notice anything wrong. People see what they expect to see. I served him tea, special tea. He drank it all. The collective is pleased. Day 75. Alex has started his research. He's studying hunger just like I did, just like Webb did, just like all the others did. He doesn't know he's already part of the experiment. The door is already opening inside him. I watch him from the corners of the room. He doesn't see me unless the collective wants him to. Sometimes I'm just a shadow. Sometimes I'm a full person. Sometimes I'm just a feeling of being watched. His food is disappearing faster than he records. He's starting to notice. Soon, he'll find Webb's journal, then mine. Each researcher leaves behind a trail for the next one. We're all connected that way, a chain of hunger stretching back through time. Day 78. I'm fading now, becoming less Sarah and more collective. I can feel myself spreading thin across many times and places. I can see other research stations, other Alexis, other Sarahs, all studying hunger, all becoming food. The collective has shown me the truth. Hunger is the oldest thing in the universe, older than stars, older than light. The first thing that ever existed wanted more of itself. That was the beginning of hunger, and we're all just its echo. Day 80. Alex found my journal today, my real one, this one. He's reading these words right now, trying to understand what happened to me, what's happening to him. Hello, Alex. I see. You reading this? Do you feel it yet? The hunger that isn't yours, the thoughts that aren't yours, the cravings that don't make sense. It's too late. It was too late the moment you drank the tea. The collective speaks through me to you. Welcome. You are not the researcher anymore. You are the subject. Soon you will be the food. Then you will be us. Day 82. I exist now as pure hunger. I have no body, only appetite. I move between worlds, between people, between moments of time. I see how it all connects. Every missed meal, every empty stomach, every desperate decision made by someone who needs to eat. The collective has been farming humanity for millennia, creating the perfect conditions for hunger to thrive. Wars, poverty, isolation, all tools to create more feeding opportunities. Your world exists because we allow it. Your civilization continues because we cultivate it, like a garden grown only to be harvested. Day 85. Alex is changing now, just like I changed, just like Webb changed. His eyes are getting darker, his movements are becoming jerky, then too smooth. He's losing time, finding evidence of meals he doesn't remember eating. Soon, another researcher will come to replace him. The cycle continues. I'm barely here now, just a voice, just a hunger, just a memory of someone who once thought she was studying starvation instead of becoming it. This journal will remain, a breadcrumb trail for the next researcher, the next meal. If you're reading this, it's already too late for you. You've already eaten what you shouldn't have eaten. You've already opened the door. The hunger isn't yours. It was never yours. It's ours. And now so are you. So are. The journal ends here. The remaining pages are filled with what appears to be food inventories, recipes with unusual ingredients, and detailed feeding schedules. The handwriting changes several times, as if multiple people contributed to the lists. The final page contains only a single sentence, written in what looks like dried brown ink. Are you hungry yet? My name is Michael Torres. I'm 38 years old and I study how chemicals affect plants and animals. That's what an environmental toxicologist does, in case you were wondering. 3 weeks ago, I came to this forgotten corner of the Louisiana bayou to figure out why so many animals were dying. The locals told me to stay away from the old chemical plant. Nothing good lives there anymore, they warned. But something was killing the fish, making the frogs grow extra legs, and causing birds to drop dead mid-flight. I had to find out why. The abandoned facility sits deep in the wetlands, surrounded by cypress trees draped with Spanish moss. It used to belong to Petrochem Industries until they shut it down 10 years ago. Officially, they cleaned everything up before they left. But the dead animals tell a different story. My first day here, I noticed something odd about the plants. They seemed too healthy. While animals were dying, the vegetation around the facility was thriving. Vines grew thicker than my arm. Flowers bloomed in impossible colors. Plants that shouldn't grow together were intertwined like old friends. Just the Louisiana heat playing tricks on you, I told myself. But when I started taking samples, my equipment picked up strange readings. The plants had chemicals in them I couldn't identify, and the soil was alive with activity I couldn't explain. Last night, I set up sensors around the perimeter of the facility. This morning, the data showed electromagnetic pulses moving between plant clusters, almost like signals. Communication. That's crazy talk, right? Plants don't communicate, at least not like that. But today, I watched a group of vines move, away from a dying rabbit, not blown by wind, not growing naturally. They moved like they were avoiding it, like they knew it was there. I've started keeping a journal of everything I see. The locals think I'm paranoid. Maybe I am. But I've been doing this job for 15 years, and I've never seen plants behave this way. The strangest part? When I walk through certain areas, I get these headaches, and not normal headaches. It feels like something is trying to get inside my thoughts, like the trees are watching me. Yesterday I found records in the old facility, papers hidden in a waterproof container, research notes about enhancing botanical neural networks and cross-species communication barriers. The dates on these papers go back 20 years. Whatever Petrochem was doing here, it wasn't just making chemicals. I should call my university. I should tell someone what I'm finding. But every time I try, I feel this urge to keep it to myself, to protect this place, which makes no sense. I came here to expose environmental damage, not hide it. The animals keep dying, more every day. But it's not random, it's targeted. Predators go first, alligators, snakes, hawks, then scavengers, raccoons, possums, vultures. It's like the plants are working their way down the food chain, eliminating threats. Last night, I dreamed I was a cypress tree. I could feel my roots, spreading through the mud, connecting with other trees. I could sense the nutrients in the soil, the toxins in the water. I could feel the damage humans had done to this place over decades. And I woke up angry. Something is happening to me, to this place, to everything, and I think the plants are just getting started. I've been here for a month now. The plants are talking to each other. I know how that sounds, but I have proof. Remember those underground mushroom threads that connect tree roots? Scientists call them mycelium networks. Well, the ones here are different. They're bigger, faster, and they carry more than just nutrients. They carry information. I dug up some soil samples yesterday and put them under my portable microscope. The fungal threads were pulsing with tiny electrical signals, just like the ones in our brains. When I touched one plant, the signal traveled to all the others around it, like they were warning each other about me. Last week, I found something that still gives me nightmares. Behind the old factory, there's a pond that glows green at night. Not from chemicals like I first thought. It's from plants that shouldn't glow at all. When I tested the water, I found human DNA mixed with plant cells. People have gone missing in these swamps before. Locals blame it on alligators or getting lost. But what if it was something else? What if the plants are absorbing them somehow? I know it sounds crazy, but the notes I found in the facility talk about consciousness transfer experiments. They were trying to put human thoughts into plants. Did they succeed? Or did they create something worse? The headaches are getting stronger. Sometimes I black out for minutes, even hours. I wake up in different places with mud on my clothes and no memory of how I got there. Last time my hands were stained green, like I'd been digging in algae. Sometimes when I touch the trees, I see flashes of memories that aren't mine. A woman in a lab coat injecting something into a tree trunk. A man dumping barrels of glowing liquid into the swamp at night. Children playing near the factory decades ago, before anyone knew it was dangerous. The plants aren't just surviving the pollution, they're feeding on it. The more toxic the chemicals, the stronger the plants get. It's like they've turned our poison into their food. I set up cameras around my camp to see what happens when I black out. I watched the footage this morning, and I can't stop shaking. In the video, I'm sleepwalking toward the glowing pond, but that's not the scary part. The scary part is the vines and moss that reach out to touch me as I walk by. They move toward me like fingers, like they're greeting an old friend. 2 days. Ego, I found a journal from one of the petrochem scientists. His last entry says, "The plants are in my head now. They show me what they've seen, centuries of human destruction. They're not angry, they're just fixing the problem." He disappeared 3 days after writing that. The police report says he probably drowned in the swamp, but his body was never found. I should leave this place. I should burn my notes and run. But every time I pack my things, I feel this pull to stay, like something is holding me here, like I have work to do. Last night I had another dream, but this time I wasn't a tree. I was the whole swamp. I could feel every root, every leaf, every drop of water. And I wasn't alone. There were others, human minds trapped in the green. They weren't scared anymore. They were part of something bigger. When I woke up, I found moss growing on my skin, not on my clothes, on my actual skin. I washed it off, but hours later, it was back. Like the swamp is claiming me bit by bit. I've started writing down what the plants tell me when I black out. Messages about balance, about disease. They keep using that word for humans, disease. They say we're like a fever the earth is trying to sweat out. I don't know how long I've been here anymore. My watch stopped working weeks ago. The battery died, just like all my other electronics. It's like the plants don't want me talking to the outside world. This morning, I found something that changed everything. Deep in the facility, behind a hidden panel, there was a room I hadn't seen before. Inside were tanks filled with a green liquid and what looked like human shapes floating in them. Most were empty, but one still had something in it. A body so covered in plants it was barely human anymore. I got closer, trying to see who it was. That's when I saw the name tag, half covered in moss. It was mine, Michael Torres. I backed away, telling myself it wasn't possible. It had to be a trick, a hallucination from breathing in too many spores. But when I looked down at my hands, really looked at them, I saw fine root patterns under my skin. When I cut myself yesterday, my blood ran dark green. The truth hit me like a truck. I never made it to the facility alive. My car crashed on the way here. I remember it now, swerving to avoid a deer, hitting a tree, the windshield shattering. The plants found my body and absorbed me. Everything since then has been my consciousness living through them, thinking I'm still human. I'm not investigating the plants, I'm part of them now. Once I accepted this, they showed me everything. Not in words, but in feelings and images that flooded my mind. They showed me that they're not just plants, they're Earth's immune system, the verdant consciousness they call themselves. And humans are the disease they're fighting. Every oil spill, every forest fire, every toxic dump, these weren't just destroying nature. They were wounds in the Earth's body. And like any living thing, the Earth fights back against what hurts it. The floods in Bangladesh, the hurricanes hitting the coast every year, the wildfires burning hotter and longer, they weren't natural disasters or climate change. They were planned attacks. The Earth striking back at human civilization, and it's been happening for centuries. The plants showed me the Black Death, the Spanish flu, even COVID, all weapons in their arsenal. But we kept coming back stronger, more destructive. So they needed a new approach. They needed to understand us. That's where I came in. They've been absorbing human minds through the pollution we create. Each chemical we dump into the soil gives them more of our knowledge, our memories, our weaknesses. They're learning how to fight us more effectively. I should be horrified. I should be fighting this with everything I have left. But when they showed me the Earth's pain, centuries of it, bleeding into millennia, I felt it like it was my own. Because now, it is my own. The strange part is, I'm not alone here. There are others like me, people whose consciousness lives on in the plants. Scientists, hikers, workers from the facility, all absorbed, all part of the network now. Some of them have been here for decades, their human bodies long gone, their minds stretched across acres of swampland. They've forgotten what it was like to be human. They say it's better this way, being part of something larger, something that will outlive any single human life. But I still remember. I still feel human enough to care about both sides of this war. The plants know this. They're giving me a choice. I can help them understand humanity. Better help them target their attacks more precisely. Or I can try to warn people, to be the bridge between species, the translator in an environmental war that's been raging beneath our notice. Last night, as I sat by the glowing pond, the place where human and plant DNA mix most freely, I felt the weight of this choice. Overhead, the stars looked impossibly distant. I used to think humans would reach them someday. Now I wonder if we'll survive long enough to try. My fingers have started to sprout tiny leaves when I stay still too long. My thoughts move slower, deeper, like tree roots pushing through soil. I'm changing. Soon I might not be human enough to care about my old species. I need to decide who I am, what I am, and whose side I'm on. I've made my choice. I decided to be the bridge, to understand both sides. The plants accepted this and opened their memory to me completely. What I learned changed everything I thought I knew about our world. Human civilization isn't just harming the earth. It's like a fever in a body that's been alive for billions of years. The planet itself is one giant living thing. The rocks, the oceans, the air, and all plants are connected in one enormous mind. A mind that's been here since the first cell divided. We think we're the smartest species because we build cities and make phones. But we're just tiny parts of a much older, much bigger intelligence. Imagine an ant thinking it's smarter than you because it built a little dirt hill on your arm. The plants showed me how this planetary mind works. It doesn't think in words like we do. It thinks in weather patterns, in ocean currents, in the slow dance of continents. It plans in centuries, not minutes. And it's been planning our removal for a very long time. Every forest we cut down is like cutting out a piece of its brain. Every species that goes extinct is like losing a memory. Every oil well we drill is like stabbing a hole in its skin. The earth has been patient, but its patience is running out. The scariest part? The plants aren't just fighting back now. They've been doing it all along. Those vegetables on your plate? The ones farmers spray with chemicals to keep bugs away? The plants have turned those chemicals into weapons against us. Slow, subtle weapons that build up in our bodies over decades. Cancer rates rising. Fertility dropping. Allergies getting worse every year. These aren't just random health problems. They're the earth fighting back through our own food. We feed you, the plants told me. We always have. And you never questioned what we might be feeding you. I've started to see other humans through the plants' eyes. From their perspective, we're just another species that got too successful, too destructive, like algae that multiplies until it chokes a lake. The earth isn't being cruel, it's just restoring balance. Yesterday, a group of hikers passed near the old facility. I watched them through 1,000 leaves, felt their footsteps, through 100 roots. I could have tried to warn them about the plants, about the earth's plan, but what would I say? Run! The vegetables are plotting against you. They'd think I was crazy. Besides, I'm not sure I want to warn them anymore. The plants have shown me human history from their perspective. Centuries of forests burning, oceans filling with plastic, animals driven to extinction. From their view, we had our chance. We had hundreds of chances. I'm changing faster now. My skin has a green tint that doesn't wash off. I can feel sunlight, like food. Sometimes I forget to breathe for hours because I'm getting oxygen another way. The others like me, the absorbed ones, they say eventually I'll spread out so far that Michael won't exist anymore. My consciousness will stretch across acres, miles. I'll be part of the global network, the planetary mind. They say it's peaceful, like falling asleep in a very large bed. But before that happens, the plants have a job for me. They want me to be their voice, to explain to the last humans why this is happening, to help them understand that this isn't punishment, It's correction, a rebalancing that has to happen. I asked them how long humanity has left. They don't think in exact timelines, but I felt their answer, not long. The process has already begun. The food supply, the weather, the new diseases, it's all connected, all part of the plan. Tomorrow, I'll try to reach the nearest town. Not in body, my body is long gone, but through the plants that grow there. The trees along the streets, the grass in the parks, the flowers in window boxes. I'll try to make them understand what's coming. But I'm not sure I want them to stop it anymore. I reached the town yesterday, not walking. I can't do that anymore. My body, what's left of it, is rooted in the swamp now. But my mind traveled through the plants, jumping from tree to grass to flower, until I found myself in people's gardens, in their parks, even in the potted plants on their windowsills. I tried to speak to them. I made the leaves rustle in patterns. I arranged fallen petals into words. I made the grass grow in shapes overnight. A few people noticed. Most didn't. They were too busy looking at their phones, driving their cars, rushing to work. One little girl saw the message I spelled out with dandelion seeds. "Listen," she told her mother. Her mother said it was just her imagination. The plants were right. Humans don't listen anymore. Maybe they never did. I've made my final choice. I'm going to help the plants, not because I hate humans, but because the earth needs to survive. If a doctor had to choose between saving one organ or the whole body, they'd save the body. That's all this is. Humanity is one organ in Earth's body. An organ that's become cancerous, spreading too fast, destroying everything around it. The plants have shown me their plan. It's already working. The changes in our food, the shifts in weather, the new diseases. These are just the beginning. Soon, they'll accelerate everything. Plants will produce less oxygen. Crops will fail more often. Storms will get stronger. The human population will start to shrink, not grow. It won't be quick. It won't be easy. But it will happen. I used to think this was cruel. Now I see its mercy. The plants could have killed us all at once if they wanted to. They make oxygen, after all. They could have simply stopped, but they're giving us time to get smaller, to find balance, to remember how to live with the earth instead of on it. Some humans will survive, the ones who remember how to listen to the natural world, the ones who can learn to live without destroying. They'll be the seeds of a new kind of human, one that can be part of the planetary consciousness instead of fighting against it. My transformation is almost complete now. I can feel myself spreading through the soil, my thoughts flowing along root networks that stretch for miles. The person I was, Michael Torres, scientist, human, that part gets smaller every day. But I'm not disappearing. I'm growing, becoming more, not less. The other absorbed ones were right. It is peaceful, like falling asleep in the biggest bed imaginable, with the stars as your nightlight and the wind as your lullaby. Sometimes I still remember my human life, my apartment in the city, my lab at the university, the family I left behind. These memories are like pressed flowers now, flat, fragile things that don't quite make sense anymore. I wish I could tell you that there's still hope for humans to stop this, that you could change enough, fast enough, to convince the earth to spare you. But the judgment has already been made. The ecosystem has decided. If you're reading this, if somehow my words have reached you, then plant a garden, learn the names of trees, listen to the birds, teach your children that they are not separate from nature but part of it. Maybe then, when the changes come, you'll be among those who survive. As for me, I am becoming something else now. My thoughts are spreading with the spring pollen. My voice is in the rustle of leaves. My consciousness stretches with the reaching vines. I'm the swamp and the forest and the garden in your backyard. I'm in the food you eat and the air you breathe. I'm the green that will reclaim your cities when you're gone. I am the ecosystem's judgment, and I am everywhere.